Good afternoon and welcome everyone. My name is Jorge Mena and I use he and him pronouns. I serve as the Associate Director at the Rafael Cintron Ortiz Latino Cultural Center, the LCC. First, happy International Women's Day to all. Thank you for joining us for today's ARTivism, and many thanks to our partners and sibling center, the Disability Cultural Center. ARTivism is one of our program series which invites creative practices to advance social justice. Today's program, Leaving Evidence Behind, Storytelling for Disability Justice, is part of a collaboration between the LCC and the DCC to offer a series of programs that highlight Latinx disability culture. Through this series, as we recognize the stories of those that live at the intersection of these marginalized identities, we also acknowledge that there's no one way to experience disability, and we hope to inspire courage as a possibility within and outside of the space. Also, as we acknowledge the ongoing pandemic, this program comes in the wake of the director of the CDC's shameful comments that were felt deeply by the disabled community. Earlier this year, when addressing the deaths of vaccinated people from COVID-19, the CDC director stated that these people, quote, were unwell to begin with, and referred to these results as, quote, really encouraging news. Rightfully so, people with disabilities express outrage because many of those dying are disabled people, which is not, in fact, encouraging news. We respond to this narrative that aims to normalize who is deemed disposable by coming together and creating spaces where disabled people can become tangible and leave evidence behind to define disability on their own terms. As Mia Mingus, a queer disabled Korean educator, writes, we must leave evidence that we are here, that we were here, that we existed, that we survived and loved and ate. Evidence for each other that there are other ways to live. Let us all disrupt the dominant narrative of compliance and charity and proceed to practice solidarity, to advance from erasure to the art of noticing. I also want to note that as we center storytelling as an art to further disability justice, this community building effort is open to non-disabled allies from any background who also want to expand their understanding about disability culture. Today's presentation will be led by our guest, Reveca Torres, who will share her art with us and also lead an interactive, reflective activity. With that said, again, thank you all for joining us. I will now turn it over to the staff from the Disability Cultural Center.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jordan Alcandar. I use she, her, and they, them pronouns. I'm one of the graduate student workers at the DCC and a graduate student under the Latin American Latino Studies program. So I've actually been working on creating disabled Latinx spaces at UIC through a series of creative workshops that have happened in the fall semester. And I'm currently assembling a zine of poetry and other works, so any short stories, drawings, anything like that, by disabled Latinx community called Nothing About Us Without Us for the DCC. So this event has a very similar intentions of expressing our experiences and thinking of ways of leaving evidence behind and capturing the current memory of our experiences through COVID-19, especially for future generations. So this is a space for us to all reflect. And if you have something you are creating here that you would like to share through the zine, we're going to share more information at the end. And of course, any information we'll share throughout this event will be follow up. And then we also have websites, and etc. And also to continue on speaking on the collaboration between these two cultural centers, the LCC and the DCC are mutually committed to this space and creating more spaces like this. We decided to come together and work on a series centering the experiences and the stories of people who identify as both Latinx and disabled. And there are many intersections that we'll experience even within this community that we're centering here today, of course. And many of us might not even identify with the same terms or, that other people might experience in this group here as well. And that is totally okay to acknowledge as well. A lot of us come from different backgrounds and experiences and have our own reasonings behind that. And there are also some messages that have both negative and positive. They're both negative and positive when it also comes to disability. And unfortunately, there aren't many spaces to unpack these messages and how they relate to our Latinx experiences, and particularly when we're struggling accessing certain resources or people understanding our histories and backgrounds. And we know not everyone here identifies within the intersection of disability and being Latinx, and that's also okay as well. We're all interdependent and we have a lot of power when we work together. And we invite all of you to explore these questions of leaving evidence and display justice from your perspective. And I want to thank everyone again for participating and coming to this beautiful space here. And I'm going to turn over our virtual mic to our DCC Director, Margaret.
Thank you, Jordan. This is Margaret speaking. That was such a nice start to the event. Thank you, everyone. To introduce myself briefly, my pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the director of the Disability Cultural Center at UIC. And for a quick visual description, I am a white woman with brown hair and clear pink glasses. And I am sitting in a room that has white cinder block walls. And behind me, there's a poster. It is very small, so I will just tell you that the lettering on the poster says interdependence is central to the radical restructuring of power. And that is a poster you can get if you would like. It's at an exhibition at Gallery 400 at UIC right now. It is my pleasure to introduce the artist for our program today, Reveca Torres. So Reveca is a multimedia artist who uses painting, illustration, photography, film, movement, and other media as a form of expression and a tool for advocacy and social justice. As a teenager, she was paralyzed in a car accident. She has degrees in fashion design and theater art and worked as a costume designer, and at the same time with organizations doing disability work in health, advocacy, recreation, and peer support. She started a nonprofit called Backbone after realizing that years of interaction and friendship with others living with spinal cord injuries made a significant impact in her own life. And Backbone is dedicated to making sure that others, especially those newly injured, had access to resources, information, and the same type of support that she has had. She's very accomplished. I'm just going to share some of her accomplishments. She's the co-director of Real Abilities Film Festival here in Chicago. And she has curated touring photography and art exhibitions that showcase work of people with disabilities and bring awareness to disability rights. In terms of some of the ways her work has been recognized, she's had fellowships at Vermont Studio Center and Santa Fe Art Institute. She was selected as a fellow for Cardam Quinn Film Diverse Voices in Docs program and Hulu plus Cardam Quinn Accelerator program. And closer to home, she has received a 3-art residency fellowship here at UIC with Bodies of Work in 2018. And she is one of the 2023 Arts awardees. So also in 2020, there's just a long list of wonderful accomplishments. We're very grateful to have Reveca here with us today. She was awarded the Craig Nielsen Visionary Award for her art and advocacy work. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Reveca. She's going to share a little bit about herself and her work, as well as her take on using storytelling for social change.
Thank you, Margaret. That was a long bio, but thank you for sharing that. And Jorge, I also appreciate the quotes that you mentioned earlier, because they really kind of sets the tone for really what has been on my mind as an artist and an advocate for people with disabilities. A quick visual description: I'm a Mexican-American woman with long brown hair and sitting in my office today, and it's blue with black cabinets behind me. So I'll start by, really saying that art and advocacy are two of my passions, and I'll talk a little bit today about, how I came to bring both of those things together, and how, this title for today, Leaving Evidence Behind, like how we can do that, and to do it in a meaningful way by us as Latinos and as people with disabilities, and anyone really, like how we are leaving evidence behind. I'll go, and then we'll have some time to do some fun creative stuff together. So that'll be fun. I'll start a little bit with some of my history. I feel like I have been an artist since I was a child, and as Margaret mentioned, I was injured at the age of 13 in a car accident. And I thought that I wouldn't be able to be a fashion designer anymore, which was what my dream was, to do fashion design. But I met a woman, a teacher at my high school, and that when I was feeling sorry for myself and saying, oh, I can't sew anymore and I won't be able to do artistic things, I met her and she showed me how to sew. She said, you can come into my classroom for lunch tomorrow, and I'll show you that there's a sewing machine that you can adapt and you will be able to sew. I went into her classroom the next day for lunch, and I probably didn't really go to lunch ever again. I just went to her classroom every day during my lunch period, and I learned how to sew from her. She became someone that was really influential in my life. She encouraged me to join the photo club and to join the art club in school at a time where I was really struggling with being a person with a disability, and also being in high school and figuring out who I was and what my body was doing. So that was a really important part in my life for me. She encouraged me to continue on to a program for fashion design. And eventually I even got to go to Paris to see some fashion shows and to learn about the fashion world. And there was resistance from the school because they thought it wasn't going to be accessible for me to go, but I was able to create these opportunities for myself by going to the Access and Disability Office and asking for help, or by reaching out to other organizations that had done work on disability in France, and was able to figure it out and to go. That was sort of my first intro to traveling after my injury, and I loved it. And I decided to do an exchange program to England that following year that had a theater focus. I learned a lot of things about myself, and learned that I didn't need to be independent in everything that I did to be able to be an independent person. It was like a realization of what independence was. If I learned how to manage my care, and I learned how to tell someone what I needed to be able to manage, my personal care, and I could, be an independent person. And so I decided to enroll in the University of Arizona in their theater department. I had been at a community college and then decided to go to a 4-year university, and I felt like I was ready. And I was like, well, if I'm gonna go somewhere, I'm gonna go far away, and I'm not gonna deal with the snow in Chicago. And that's why I ended up in Arizona. I just wanted the warm weather, and I also really liked it there in Tucson. But so I came back to Chicago and doing costume design, and at the same time doing disability work with different organizations. I actually did some research, worked as a research assistant at UIC at the Department of Disability and Human Development. So I was there for about a year or two. Does everything look okay? I feel like it was just changed, right?
Hey, Reveca, this is Jorge. I think you were just spotlighted, but we can still see and hear you. Yeah.
Okay, good. So in 2009 was when I decided to start Backbones, this organization for people with spinal cord injuries and disabilities. And I was really, really conflicted of like, am I going to be able to have time to do art? Am I going to be able to do like my disability work? I didn't know what to do. And I thought that I had to choose one from the other. I went back to this teacher from high school and was in tears. And I was like, what do I do? And how do I make this choice? And she said to me something that has stuck with me. And she said, you're a creative person, and whatever you do in your life, whatever path that you choose, you're going to bring your creativity into it. And that was all I needed to hear. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start this organization and I'm going to bring my creativity in whatever way that I can into it. And I feel like I have been able to use my creativity to build and to brand what Backbones is, the culture of it, and in a way where disability is looked at with culture and lifestyle. And you can see that if you check out our website, it's at backbonesonline.com. You can really see that reflected, I think, in the type of photos that we use, in the language that we use, and also the way that we share the stories. And I think all of those things are really important. In 2014, was kind of a year that a lot of stuff started changing for me. I had dedicated a lot of time to putting together the organization and really had left my creative side to the side. I hadn't paid much attention to it. I hadn't really been doing a lot of projects, and I really missed it. So I needed a creative outlet, but I also was having this in the back of my mind that like people with disabilities needed to be represented better in media and just in general. And if, you know, and one of the things that was big for me was when we were redoing our website, I was looking up images of people with disabilities, and it was either, you know, really sad, depressing images, or it was people like this in the sun, raising their arms up in the air and the sunset behind them. And it was very inspiring. So it was either pity or inspiration. And there wasn't a lot in between where people were just living their lives and being just regular people. So I decided to start curating this exhibition called Reinventing the Wheel. And you can find that on the website under the Stories tab. And thank you, Margaret, for posting those links. And if you, you know, you can check out all those stories. They've been living on our website, but it turned out to be an exhibition at a museum, and then it toured to several states. And basically it was, we matched up 21 photographers with 21 people with spinal cord injuries to do photo essays or photo stories and about their lives. People that attended really felt like it changed their perspective on the lives of people with disabilities. They were really diverse participants, and all with different interests, all doing different, you know, some were moms, some were filmmakers, some were athletes. So it was a really good way for people to just see the diversity that exists in disability. Following that, I kept on working with this museum. It no longer is here in Chicago. It was a National Museum of Health and Medicine in Chicago. but we worked with them to do other exhibitions. One called Redefining the Game, about athletes with disabilities. One about called Tech Ability, about technology and design and how it's changing the world for people, and specifically we focused on how some technology was helping people with disabilities. I worked on several art shows where we brought in different artists with disabilities, and so it was a really good way to bring in art from different artists and give them a platform to have their work exhibited and sell their work and just be in community with one another as well. And then this also led me to start working with the Real Abilities Film Festival in New York and bring a chapter of the festival here to Chicago, which is a festival that screens films about disability or made by filmmakers with disabilities. And we have done it for 2015, 2017, and 2019. We're hoping to be able to bring it back soon, where we can do something in person or a virtual hybrid as well. I also participated in an exhibition called The Art of Normal. And this was in 2015 when it was the 25th anniversary of the ADA. And someone invited me to be a part of this exhibition. And the question that they asked me was something that I use today still to think about what I'm sorry, I don't know what that was. But to think about how I approach a project, if I'm kind of stuck on a project. And what happened was this person said to me, I didn't know how to contribute to this exhibition. And it was, he asked me, if you want the world to know something, what would it be? And I use that, like I said, I use that to think about my project when I'm working on something. Okay, what do I want the world to know with this project or with this this drawing, this painting, this film, whatever it be. And I thought, I want an image revolution, and I want people to change the way that they see disability as something negative and into something that is a human experience and that is part of our communities, is part of our society. And then I want our stories to be told. And that can be through movies, through plays, through visual art, photography, sound, music, dance, movement. Like there are so many ways for our stories to be told. And so if you kind of see that trajectory, you know, it slowly got me to a point where I was like, oh, I didn't have to separate my art and I didn't have to separate that from my advocacy. I'm sort of doing them both together. And I started seeing that I could merge the two. And it gave me a sense of power, that I had that my voice had power and that my art had power and that it could be used to change people's minds. And I think it's really important that we all are engaged in our communities, like be civically engaged, be able to participate in influencing policy and things like that. But often it's really hard to get people to care. And it's hard to get them to want to make change if they don't know the stories, and they won't care if they don't know the stories. And I think that is where art can come in, and it can have a purpose. You know, imagine if we like bombard the arts and media and using imagery that really represents us, like people will start to notice and people will start to care. And I feel that eventually it's going to start making change with having more opportunity for us to have education, employment, recreation, accessible housing, transportation, and really like a better quality of life for all of us, you know. And I want to share, I still have some time, so I'll share. I worked on an exhibition called Tres Fridas Project. And this was with two women, Miriam Pare and Tara Ahart. And we recreated iconic images of art and history, but we swapped out the subjects for people with disabilities. And each image, we accompanied it with a description of, you know, what this meant and what this could mean for people with disabilities. So it was a way to educate people as well. And I'll show you. I mean, this is a video, but I'm turning off the sound because I didn't have all the images on this computer in a way that I could really show them. And so this is some images. For example, this was our inspiration, the image of, Frida Kahlo, two Fridas, and it's a Frida on the left who is wearing a white dress and then holding hands with the Frida on the right, wearing a dress that is blue and with a blue top and a green skirt, and there's clouds in the background. And you can see on the left, the smaller image is the original, and then below that we had the description, and then we did the recreation, which included Miriam and myself, both sitting in our wheelchairs. And so we wanted really to make an impact where people could, you know, Frida Kahlo's an artist, a Mexican artist who had a disability, but often people don't recognize that or don't include that in a lot of the things that is shown of her. So we wanted to sort of get people to do this like double take that, oh, the wheelchairs. This is an image of the costumes that we recreated, and I was able to make these. And these were cool because we opened the back of the costume or the back of the skirt so that we could just put it on our laps and tie it behind us, because both of us didn't have a caregiver that day to come and get us dressed and everything. So we wanted to make it easy to get in and out of the costumes. And this is an image of the old guitarist, and it is a musician who's sitting on the ground with his legs crossed, holding a guitar. And originally, it was thought that this was a man who was blind, who was playing music. And so we had Tommy Carroll, who is a blind musician here in Chicago, be our model. This one was the girl with the pearl earring. And it's a woman who's like looking into the camera, wearing almost like a turban that's blue and yellow, and a coat that is like a golden coat. And we used this image to talk about body image and differences. And the model, her name is Rena Rosen, and she, kind of talked about her finding a community of other people that had facial differences, and how that made a difference in her life. So we ended up with 16 different images, and one of them was the Mona Lisa. Sorry, I'm skipping these really quick because I want to get to, this one's one that was really interesting too. This is the sign, the poster, "We Can Do It," with a woman holding her hand up, and her like bicep, and the background is yellow, and it says "We can do it." And originally this was used for like women joining the workforce during the war. And so we use this to talk about how people with disabilities sometimes have issues finding, like it's a big problem finding employment, and also like sub-minimum wage laws and things like that. It was really eye-opening for a lot of people that had no idea that about sub-minimum wage and just how difficult it can be for people to find employment. So I'll just, those are just a couple of the things that, or the images from that exhibition. And currently I'm working on a film. One, it's about artists with disabilities from the past. And I am writing, it's a documentary film where I write letters to these artists. And the three artists are Frida Kahlo, Vincent van Gogh, and Henri Matisse. They're artists that have influenced my life, my art, my work. So I write them letters and bring them to the present to introduce them, I guess, to contemporary artists here in Chicago that are artists with disabilities. I am also working on another film, also a documentary about my father and my brothers, who are all landscapers, and the journey of my family, like immigrating to the U.S. and what it has meant to start a business in landscaping, and also my youngest brother bringing that into conservation. He's currently doing a PhD in gosh, I should know this, but he works with bees and like saving the bees and doing a lot of conservation work. So I'm following the journey of my father, recently retiring, and now like my brother's kind of taking over. So, growing up, I didn't see these stories of being represented of my experience as a Latina with a disability. I didn't really see like some positive stories of that. And I think that we need to see more. And I hope that with some of my work, I am, I'm doing that. And I hope that these films that I'm working on that will explore the lives of of artists with disabilities from the past as sort of our ancestors and like what they left for us. The story of my family, diving into my family's story and their history coming to the US. And I think, sometimes history has erased us or has forgotten us or not given us the credit that we deserve, or even elevated our work or contributions to the world. And I think that we can, through art, photo, film, audio stories, books, our clothes, our food, they all tell a story. And we all have a right to tell our own story. And as I've been thinking about what we leave behind, thinking about the objects that I choose to surround myself with, the clothes that I choose to wear. So all of these things, are eventually going to become the artifacts of my own life. And I want people to know I was here. And I think a lot about what are these things that I'm leaving behind that that will let people know that I was here, and the things that were important to me. I'm going to share really quickly a video that kind of sums it up. And this is from two filmmakers, brother and sister from Colombia. And let's see, does this? Okay.
My name is Alan Bogarin.
My name is Jonathan Bogarin.
I am the co-director of 306 Hollywood along with my sister Alon.
When our grandmother passed away, we realized once we had a grandma, now we have her stuff. And it seemed like this completely ironic situation that you could have this amazing person who lives and breathes and you can talk to, and then all of a sudden you have junk. The film was sort of reckoning with what that transformation is and really how do we understand what remains of the past. Do you ever wish you were young?
No.
Grandma, are you vain?
Oh, yes, I am.
Do you miss sex?
Oh, no, not at my age.
We filmed her for 10 years before she died, so we had an archive of her speaking from her point of view from ages 83 to 93. But we also had an archive of every single object that she kept beginning in the 1920s and 30s and ending in the 2000s.
We felt that, wait a minute, these are the things that define us. We can make a film about a house being a universe. We can make a film about a 93-year-old woman.
In some ways, archivists are making a judgment as to what is important and what gets saved, because in that act of saving and then making it accessible to other people, you're identifying the story that you believe needs to be saved and told and understood from into the future.
Holding on to the memories and really the histories of an ordinary person is actually a very political act.
If we are always making depictions of famous people and rich people, if everyone's always white, if everyone's always sort of young, if everyone tends to be male in terms of being powerful, we're not really painting an accurate picture.
It gives us a fuller picture of what our world is and why it is what it is. And that is a crucial piece of why we should remember, not just because we think someone is important to us, it's because it makes up a bigger tapestry of the history of our society around us.
So I think that kind of sums up sort of everything that I've been saying. Oh, sorry. All right. So, it makes me think about what is an archive? These things, these facts, data, and it's evidence from letters, reports, notes, memos, photographs, and who are the people that are creating these archives, or are they historians and are they interpreting them accurately? And so I'd like to go into us doing some creative work together and thinking about, many years from now, what do you want someone to know about you? Your story, your family, your community, this moment in time. And think about in what ways you can record that. It can be done through audio recordings. We can use our cell phones, or we can use an audio recorder to record stories that sometimes are passed down, or maybe we just want to, talk about what's important to us or what's happening right now. These could later be transcribed and become written documents. We can think about photography we can use our phones, we can use a camera, video recording as well, interviewing people, interviewing yourself, the space around you, your community, drawing, similar to like photography, it's a form of documenting, and you can use that by what you put in your drawing. You can include particular details or items in your drawing that, for example, some of you may be graduating if you're students, if you drew a picture of yourself with your gown and like the year 2022, like that is a record of like maybe the colors of your school or the year. You can draw, you can make it a comic book. Maybe you decide to make a comic book and just use images. Maybe you can draw a map of your community, of where you live. I think if you think about it, like where you live, what did it look like 50, 100 years ago? So really, I'd like you to really think about in what format you want to share, or maybe you can merge formats if you'd like. And again, if you can't complete it right now, for example, if thinking, oh, I'm going to write a book, or I'm going to do some audio or some film, if you maybe can't complete it during this time, but maybe plan it out or map it out. And again, thinking about yourself, your story, your family, your community, and what is happening outside right now in the world. And I think we're going to do that for about 20 minutes. Is that correct? Yes, thumbs up. Let's do that for 20 minutes. I'll share some music, and then we'll come back in 20 minutes. And I would love for you guys to share some of what your thoughts are on this. Okay, we have someone, Osiris.
Hi, thank you for pronouncing my name correctly. My name is Osiris. I am an indigenous two-spirit. My people are the Mayo people, or the Yoremi Indians from Sinaloa and Sonora in North Mexico. And I was writing because I like to write, and I'm actually writing my one-person show about the accident that made me disabled. And that is called The Rebirth of Osiris. And it's going to be at the Den Theater, the Haven Theater in Wicker here in Chicago. And so I'm doing that. So I'm actually really grateful for this workshop, because I got a lot of really good ideas and writing and things. It's awesome. But I realized as I was writing, and then I heard that the instrumental of the Natalia Lafourcade song, the Hasta la Raíz, and I was like, bro, what? Yes. And then I was singing, and then I was like, that's what I should be doing. And I even wrote down, as I was writing, I said, I want people to know that I'm a singer. No more secrets, I said. Yeah, no more secrets and more celebration. And I think I'm realizing that because I'm still writing my show. It doesn't go up until the last weekend of April, but I think I realized that I need to write my own song at the end. I think I had that realization to do that. And I'm also part of a band, so they could totally help me. And but I was thinking, what should I share that makes me feel really connected to my roots, right? That's kind of what the song inspired from me. And I thought about queer ancestors and things like that. And so I just was thinking about the songs that I would like to play a song for you all, if that's okay. It's not an original, it's a mariachi song, but I'm I can't make up a song in the minute right now. I'm not that good yet, I'm not there. But so I wanted to do ancestors, and one of my go-to songs is a Chabela Vargas song, because I consider her very much an ancestor, a queer ancestor. She was one of the first gay people who I feel her and Juan Gabriel are the gay LGBTQ icons that our families just accepted. Our moms and our dads and our grandmas and everyone, they love Juan Gabriel and they love Chabela Vargas. So they could accept queerness in those instances. And I just really want to also bring out that queerness in my story and in life. And I don't know, but I sing La Paloma Negra, which is a classic done by Chabela. So I'd like to sing that for you now. It's been a while and I'm not warmed up, so I'm sorry, but I'm excited.
Here's to No More Secrets.
No more secrets. Me canso de llorar y no amanece. Ya no sé si maldecirte o por ti rezar. Tengo miedo, mucho miedo de buscarte y de encontrarte. Donde me aseguran mis amigos que te vas, que te amo con locura, ya no vuelvas. Paloma negra, paloma negra, paloma negra, ¿dónde estarás? Ya no juegues con mi honra para si tus caricias han de ser mías, de nadie nada. Te amo con locura, ya no vuelvas. Paloma negra, es la reina de quiero ser libre y vivir con quien yo quiera. Y yo gusta mi fuerza, que me estoy muriendo por irla a buscar. Y agarraste por tu cuenta las parrandas.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And we have in the comments from Luis, not too long ago, I think he sang in front of me and a few friends at their apartment, a really intimate concert and such a beautiful voice. Thank you for sharing. Do we have anyone else who would like to share what they worked on?
Hi, I'm Paulina Guzman. I work at the Hispanic Center of Excellence on the West Campus. And my mom has so many pictures of the great-great-grandparents and all. And we're trying to kind of hang them up at home. However, there's too many of them. So when I saw the video, Reveca, that you shared with us about chronology, everything that the grandmother had, I thought, well, maybe we could do a museum at home with certain pictures and just have our, my nieces and nephews come in and learn about all the history that, my great-great-grandparents, who they were, and for them, it would be their tatarabuelos because there's so many generations, but maybe doing a museum of pictures and just relating the history of, who Garcia Nava, Guzman families are, just so that my nieces and nephews can have that history and carry it on beyond our family. Because my parents were they were self-employed, and they left behind their big pots and pans. They had a grocery store where they also cooked barbacoa, and they would sell it, the menudo, they would sell it, the carnitas, and they would sell it. So things that they would sell at the grocery store, like the big pots and pans, we still have that. And kind of sharing, like what their grandparents did for a living. because now, things are different, things are changing. No longer, they had a grocery store in Pilsen that's no longer there. It's been erased with all the gentrification taking place. So I would want to do that museum of pictures. So thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for this wonderful presentation and sharing a bit about yourself, Reveca. I appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing. I love that. I wish my family had like a lot more pictures and things like that too. Anyone else sharing some work, comment, an idea?
This is Jorge. I can share really briefly. Something you said at the beginning around how you were injured at the age of 13 and you thought everything would change. And then traveling around Paris made me think about migration a little bit and how, the role that being a migrant or being undocumented plays in how we identify, or how I identify, I should say. And so I'll read an excerpt or something I edited. I didn't think much would change when I crossed the border. Learning English through Goosebump books in 3rd grade in Texas, I sat with other classmates whose skin was darker, but accents were just as thick. You could smell the residue of the rancho still on their worn shoes. And the excitement of being somewhere where wearing Nikes wasn't a big deal. We didn't know an American education would fit well with my mom's job cleaning offices after hours and my father's machismo. My accent would soon be gone, replaced by Chicago. We didn't know an American diploma would fit well with my mom's dry cleaning job and a sense of wistful nostalgia. Being undocumented feels like you're young forever. What a peculiar state to exist in, knowing that I will not be undocumented forever, and yet it guides every decision. Today's decision, I'm not leaving.
While people are getting the courage to share, I just wanted to mention that while I was thinking through this activity, I was trying to put together a collage of pictures from family, friends, different cultural practices, how I mourn, whether that's through an altar, or by sharing things with my wife and processing, or now we have lots of cats, so, taking care of them. And then it hit me that while I am living as a highly functioning person with depression and anxiety, I don't have pictures that depict those moments for me. And so I got stuck in that, like, how do I express that to future generations if all the pictures I have are of me smiling, are of me having fun or at a party and so on, or living through COVID. And so I stopped for a minute and had to reflect on that. But I am curious as to if there's students in the space, how they've been able to navigate those feelings, or how they've used the resources on campus, for example, or how they've been able to identify it as someone with an invisible disability as well. Because I feel like I don't claim disability. And I don't know that we talk about it enough in my own family. So I'm just wondering if there's other similar thoughts in the audience. But thank you so much for the activity.
Thank you for sharing. That's really powerful, actually.
I just wanted to kind of, respond. So I guess like how to express like maybe the harder parts of an invisible disability. And I just remember like I personally would like kind of doodle, like even in class and stuff, like in high school. I remember making this doodle of like, it had like a bunch of different levels, kind of like a maze. but it was vertical with like stairs going upside down and sideways and everything. And that was before, I kind of understood what disability and like, I guess put a name to my own disability. So I think for me personally, it's a lot of drawing, even if it's just like a doodle, to kind of put your energy into something physical.
Paloma, you just reminded me of a project that I have chronic pain, and similar to what you just commented, it's something we don't always share, but I started doing, instead of journaling, I started doing little drawings every day to sort of help me through that. And I think that has made it something tangible as well. Well, I thank you all for being here with me today, and for being invited to share my story and to share what I'm working on. And I'm honored that you all shared with me as well. And I think someone might have some wrap-up comments before we go.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us, for gaining the courage to share. And hopefully this exercise helps you in the future, not just for this moment and this program. And at this time, we also want to thank you as our leading artist. So please join me in thanking our speaker. Unmute yourselves, use the chat, reaction buttons. And I've shared my screen with some resources that Margaret can speak about. Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. This is Margaret speaking. Sorry, the captions were a little delayed. Yes, this has been such a beautiful event. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We do have a few just FYIs if you're not already familiar with some of these opportunities for community around Latinx and disabled identity. We certainly at the Disability Cultural Center would welcome anyone to check in with us. We are so happy to talk to folks about anything, big or small, and connect you with resources or just be a sounding board. There are also a couple of organizations in Chicago and beyond. One is at Access Living Cambiando Vida, which is a group for Latinx people with disabilities here in Chicago. And then the National Coalition for Latinx with Disabilities is more, as you might tell from the name, a national coalition. And maybe just to totally wrap up, I'll hand it to Jordan if Jordan wants to remind people about the zine opportunity.
Hello, everyone. This is Jordan again. I did talk about this in the beginning, but I know some people might have came in a little bit late. So again, I'm collecting any form of stories, poetry, drawings, any kind of form of media focused on disabled Latinx communities here, based on workshops I actually did this past spring, with disabled Latinx people at UAC. So I'm going to put my email in the chat, but also, my information is on the DCC's website, of course. If you want to check us out, and we have more details about the zine as well on there, in case you forget to write down my email. Please feel free to contact me about any questions you might have about how to submit. If you want to talk to me one-on-one about anything, I'm wholly here for you as well. And yeah, so everyone here, regardless if you shared it or not, have so many lovely stories that I would love to hear. You could share another variety of different ways, like I said, different mediums. That would be amazing for the zine. And this is really another concrete way that we can leave evidence behind at UAC of our communities here and the beautiful work we can create together and stuff. And then other resources that the DCC actually offers are check-in hours for staff, faculty, students, and community members, which are one-on-one meetings to discuss issues you might be struggling with, so we can help you find different resources both on campus and in the community, or continue a conversation about how you may or may not identify as disabled and the ways this impacts you as well. So even if you just have questions of you're exploring your disability identity, or if you're not quite sure how you feel about using these types of terms for yourself, we would totally love to have those conversations with you as well. So not just about resources, but even about identity, stuff like that. Please, send us emails, messages, scheduling a meeting in the future, which again, we'll share again at the end of this event, and also all of our information is on our website as well. And unless somebody else has something else to say, but this is this is all I have to share on the DCC's, and I'm gonna pass it on to anyone else if they have any last minute things they want to share before we close the event.
This is Jorge. We just wanted to again briefly mention this is the first of a series that we hope to engage you all on, to continue to talk about disabilities within the Latinx community. And so please we'll keep you posted through the DCC website, the LCC website, etc. So again, thank you all for your time and attention, and this brings our program to a close. We thank you all and have a lovely rest of your day.